Cheating. You're either not good, don't have the time, or want to mess around. Cheating is taken very differently in the different areas of gaming. In multiplayer, it's heavily discouraged because it can tip the scales in the favor of a player who doesn't necessarily need it, or perhaps give an inexperienced player a shortcut around doing the work to getting good and ruining the experience for others. But what about single player? What about what you do in the privacy of your own home? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today gameranx asked the question, should cheating be allowed in single player games? So the first thing we need to do is establish a baseline. What is cheating? Well, the thing is, it's different for different people. My first instance of cheating on a video game console was the Konami code. And yes, I am old as fuck. To be playing games on an NES and going, wait, this does good things, kind of blew my mind, because in my head a game had to have a certain set of rules in order to make any sense, and these codes, whether the Konami code or later on when I bought a Game Genie, really kind of just smashed all those expectations. But some people also even look at certain things that many consider acceptable to be cheating. For instance, there are some people with the opinion that playing in easy mode is cheating. I think that that's just a little bit extreme, and some people are new to games or just not as good, and they deserve to be able to enjoy this stuff as well. And frankly, you need them to buy this stuff so that they keep making this stuff, so maybe lay off those people a little. Still, another type of cheating is the earned unlock cheat, which was present mostly in the middle 90s. Probably the most prominent example of that would be GoldenEye 007, which gave you some of the most absurd things you could possibly do just by beating a level faster, or beating it without getting hit, or killing every enemy in one shot. There were various different goals you could do that would give you bizarre things like big head mode and paintball mode. And while these often included aesthetics, they did also give you the traditional cheats, such as invincibility, various infinite items or ammo codes, etc. And the thing is that the designers intended for you to be able to do these things and didn't want to discourage you from it. In fact, most cheat codes actually have to be programmed into the game intentionally, which leads us to our first point. Oftentimes, cheat codes are an intended part of the experience. Like if you sat down and said to me, listen, you using the Konami code is disgusting, I would say back to you, you do realize that Konami intentionally programmed that into all of their games in that era of gaming, right? Because that's what they did. It is not an unintended thing. Now, that's not to say that all cheats are like that, because like I said, I bought a Game Genie as well, and much later a Game Shark. Oh, I hate to say much later, that really emphasizes how old I am. But anyway, let's talk about the Game Genie, the Game Shark, and more recently, Cheat Engine. That's kind of where the morality starts to blur. So these peripherals and software did something called RAM debugging, which is essentially editing the information that is sitting in the RAM of the game. You could even call it RAM hacking if you really wanted, and it's absolutely not supported by the developers of the game. It is an unintended side effect of having to use RAM, which is basically how everything works, period. So that's that. Every single game is vulnerable to this. You might sit down and say to yourself, is it really moral to change this? And I would say to you, have you ever watched a re-edited film? There's actually quite a bit of these on the internet, but the most popular one to do by far is Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. People re-edit this film all the time, and it's because the movie itself is terribly edited. And all of the edits have little different hallmarks of the editor themselves. Some editors very professional and make the movie almost tolerable, while others just kind of cut everything out that they don't like and leave everything else as is. Is that wrong? Now, I'm guessing there are going to be people that answer both yes and no to that question, because morality is not a objective thing. It's pretty subjective, actually. The opposite of objective. Just like some people like the remix of a song and some people are purists and only like the original. There's often arguments about these things, and I would say that while entering a cheat code isn't quite the amount of effort that it takes to make a remix or re-edit a movie, it's a similar moral conundrum. It's modifying the work to your own personal taste. Some people hate that. And in the 90s, that was the predominant position on it. A lot of kids would often say, you use cheat codes? Well, you're lame. But the fact of the matter is, I did it anyway. I didn't necessarily do it on my first playthrough of a game, but on subsequent playthroughs, I would definitely use cheats, especially on games that were really hard and I just kind of want to experience them again. When the design is so good, I just want to delve into the levels, the art, the music, and the story as well. In many respects, that was kind of a tourist playthrough to remember the good times, so to speak. But some people use cheat codes because they legitimately can't get through a game. And when I sit and compare and contrast myself with that, I think about, well, I was kind of doing this so that I could enjoy sort of an abridged version of the game that cut out a lot of the parts that I had to do multiple times. At times in my life, I've questioned myself, is that a problem? Is it a problem that that's the only way they experience the game? And I think you probably know where I'm going with this if you've watched any of my other videos. Folks, I can sum up where I'm going with 5 words. Different strokes for different folks. Because let's talk about something. The modding community is more often than not very closely linked with the cheating community. Mods are oftentimes basically the same thing as cheats and hack the game in a very similar way to using a RAM debugger, except for they do it in a manner that can be turned on, turned off, installed, copied, just otherwise easier to do. Because let's face it, sometimes big head mode is a cheat. Cheating in a single-player game is simply modifying the experience to your taste, which is essentially what we do with everything in the world anyway. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Play the vanilla game. It's not a problem. But if you do like it, it's a single-player experience and it modifies the game only for you. What's the harm? You're not hurting anybody, whether it's cheating or modding. You're changing your own experience and probably enjoying the game more, or at least enjoying it again. Sometimes playing it the exact same way just isn't the thing you want to do. Sometimes playing it in any of the intended ways just isn't that appealing after you've done it so many times. Maybe even just once. You're feeling like getting wild. And what's wrong with that? I would say there's nothing wrong with that. It's certainly not a pure experience. But as long as you're not messing up the experience for other people, what's the harm? Should cheating be allowed in single-player games? Yeah. Seriously, what is it if you can't do that? Just restrictive crap. What do you think though? Let's meet in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and the best way to see them first is of course a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.